right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat,
And I'm Eric.
and today we are going to finally be giving our Pokemon Sword and Shield impressions. We're going to talk about some Xbox Game Pass announcements, specifically, all the various games that are now coming to Xbox Game Pass, and then we're going to lead that into some discussion about Google Stadia. It's been on the market now, I guess. I think it's been released, but there's been lots of firsthand impression videos and just various tests online. And but we're going to get probably more into like the business model itself. But that's going to be the topics for this week. We are going to have to do a shorter podcast episode. Both me and Eric we have to go to work today, unfortunately. So so we're going to have to probably keep this episode to about an hour, but just to give a quick rundown why this podcast episode's a little bit late this week. I don't want to say a little bit. It's very late this week. It's like we're pretty much into next week's podcast. But we've had this has been a very difficult podcast to get situated this week between Stan. Stan was in a minor accident. He's okay, but he's not supposed to get out of bed, so that's why he's not here today. And then I was out of town for work, and then Eric ended up being stuck working massive overtime at work. So it was it's just one thing led to another. So we've been trying to make this work. Initially we were going to do a podcast yesterday, and then Eric was like, "No, one of my coworkers called out sick. Can't do it. It has to be today." So we're grabbing the bull by the horns and we're doing it today. So
And we gave Stan homework to do, so don't worry. He's playing Dragon Quest XI right now.
Yeah. Well, I find it particularly interesting, and I wonder if it's a coincidence that he expressed slight criticisms of Dragon Quest XI last week, and then suddenly, lo and behold, Stan is not capable of coming on the podcast this week.
All I'm saying is Dragon Quest is the best JRPG franchise, right, Hat?
Yeah, it's great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so we'll get to our topics this week. Before we start off, just a quick reminder, we are media partners with RPG Fan, so we're trying to help each other out. And we strongly urge you all to go check out rpgfan.com. They got RPG news, reviews since like the late 90s. They have multiple podcasts. They're starting to work on their YouTube page, obviously RPG Fan. They just had a new review that just went up, I think, of the new Trails game. Let me check real quick. That way I can give them a proper shout out. I don't want to be announcing games on their YouTube page that they haven't reviewed. Okay, yeah, so Legends of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. So they just reviewed that. They have some other reviews on there. Monster Hunter Iceborne, The Outer Worlds, which was actually my game footage, so I was really happy to contribute towards that. So make sure you go check them out. They're really cool people, and I think you all will enjoy their content if you enjoy our content. So big shout out to them. But I think that it's time to just jump right into the Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, last week we kind of got into some of the controversies surrounding Pokemon Sword and Shield, and since that episode, there's been a little bit more, but we're probably just gonna, some of those issues might kind of crop up while we're talking about the game, but we're just gonna give our impressions here, negative or positive. Yeah, I think it's safe to say we both really enjoyed the game. So, but Eric, do you want to start us off on kind of what were your impressions with Sword and Shield? I know you've played a lot more than I have, so.
Right now, I'm sitting at 5 gem badges, and for Sword, that's the version I bought. My wife got Shield, and I'll say this as someone who did not. Well, I'll give my Pokemon history real quick. The last one I played and dedicated myself to was Red and Blue, all the way back then on the Game Boy when I was like 8 years old or somewhere around that age.
That's a good game.
Yeah, and I purchased Pokemon games over the years, but I never really got past the first hour or two. I usually bought them in like spurts of buying like multiple games. and like I bought Black, bought Crystal, and I bought the remake of Silver.
Mm,
A couple games on the DS, and I bought X and Y or Pokemon X on the 3DS. I never really got far in them, and it wasn't because they were bad games, but it was just because they like I couldn't like grasp or get interest in it, or I didn't really have people to interact with on it. So Sword has actually been the first time I really got myself into a Pokemon game now. I'm like I said, I'm up to 5 gym badges. My wife is at 3 right now. Or I'm sorry, 4. Like she really likes to like do everything she can before she proceeds to the next place. And I just haven't had as much time to play it this week. But for what I have played, I really like it.
yeah.
Um, and it feels a lot of it feels like the stuff I remember back then. Um, I do notice that a lot of it is streamlined. There isn't like really any puzzles to get around places in the world. It's very straightforward. You go here, then you go here, and you have air taxis that take you back to where you want to go. I mean, like it's like it's a lot more simplified than I remember in that regard. But like combat system wise, it feels the same as previous Pokemon. I don't really notice too much different, and the Dynamax part of the combat, I don't. It's like it's a cool thing to watch,
Well, do you
but
want
I
to
don't.
explain what that is real quick so people that haven't played the game know?
Oh yeah, Dynamax is basically you can turn your Pokemon really big, and then their like attack power and defense just like greatly increase from it.
Right, but it's limited to certain battles,
Yeah,
and you can only do it like once per battle.
yeah, and really the only time I use it is gym leader fights, and I only use it in response to when they use it, just so the the battles in the equal field.
Yeah,
I
because
guess, and
if you try like I did try to the first gym I tried to use Dynamax like right when I could, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm just wrecking things, and then my Pokemon went back to normal, and then their Pokemon went to Dynamax, and then they annihilated like almost all of my Pokemon. I still beat it, but I was like, okay, I'll just wait till you use it, and then I'll use it too.
yeah, I mean, I haven't had any reason. Like, it has no strategic value, not much strategic value to it. It's like like I said, the only time I've used it is in response to a gym leader using it.
Yeah,
And that's the only time I've felt the need to use it. The game isn't hard enough that you feel compelled to use the Dynamax when it's given or available to you. And you certainly can't use it to like capture a much higher Pokemon because you got to have a certain gym leader badge to have the level 2 catch that Pokemon in the wildlands.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's one of the things that have kind of if they made a lot of changes with this entry. Again, I beat Blue, I beat Crystal, and then I'm kind of with you. I've played some of the other ones, but I didn't play them substantially. So I know that a lot of people felt like this was using a lot of the similar like animations and such from Sun and Moon, and didn't play that games extensively, so I didn't notice that stuff. But yeah, I mean they've really changed up the formula here in terms of gameplay. I mean, there's uh, like you said, there's Dynamax. There's the fact that you can't even catch stronger Pokemon until you have the gym badge, whereas before, if if you were skilled enough or patient enough, you could catch those Pokemon. They might not listen to you, but you could catch them. And so they kind of expressed that the reason they did that was, I think it was due to gameplay or balancing, just the fact that it was more open. They didn't want you to be able to catch a level 30 Onyx when you're level 5 and just wreck the entire game. So I can understand that, but like I said, experience share and just all sorts of, I think, quality of life changes that have been added to this that have been kind of controversial for certain players. Other people seem to like it, but you seem to be kind of in the middle on it.
well, we argued about it last time, but the EXP share, I love it. I mean, I love that it's there, and it does have a good compromise in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives bonus EXP to the Pokemon you use in battle, but it gives EXP to everyone overall.
Yeah. Well,
And because of this,
mhm.
I've actually been motivated to use multiple Pokemon and not just like my starter Pokemon and just blast through the whole thing with him alone. Like if I see, I've tried to balance my party the most I could, mostly based on who's cool and not cool looking. But
Yeah.
but I try to do a little elemental balance also a little bit, and it's I really like that. Like when I see certain Pokemon, I'm like, oh, I'll just switch to this one and take it down real quick. Like the last time I played Pokemon, I definitely did not do that. I did not feel compelled to level all these Pokemon. I just leveled what I felt was absolutely essential. With this EXP share, now I feel compelled to actually make a well balanced party.
See, that's interesting. I've heard kind of split down the middle. Some people felt that way, and then other people, I think, kind of align more with the way I was playing. But I choose my first, my initial Pokemon. It was the rabbit. Right now, it's evolved to a Raboot. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's a fire-based Pokemon, and I pretty much just use that Pokemon. And like my other Pokemon are kind of there as a backup, and they just get the experience share, and I don't really use them until it's necessary. Reboot dies, or maybe it's a water Pokemon. So then, obviously I'm not going to use him. So I'll switch to, some of the other Pokemon I have. But I feel like the experience share has made it very easy for me to just kind of like not really worry about it. Like I couldn't even like remember like all the Pokemon in my party for a while. For a while, I still had great fun catching Pokemon, but that's the way I was playing. I've been trying to change it up a little bit because I know that's not the way they want you to play it. So I've been trying to play the game the way the developers Game Freak wanted you to play it. But yeah, that's kind of been my experience. I do wish that I think it's cool that it's an option, but I do think they should have had an option to turn that off for some of the people that didn't wanna play it that way. But, you know,
Yeah, I can agree with that. If
it
that's the, I mean, I think it's a waste of time for people to play it that way. But if they want the option, then I don't see why not just have it a feature you
yeah,
turn off, or maybe kind of a compromise where like you can equip an item that uh lets the EXP go to one Pokemon
yeah,
as opposed to all of them. So if you're trying to get like a specific Pokemon up to a certain level, that would be pretty nice.
yeah, yeah. I see Lane here in the comments. Huge shout out to Lane. He was we kept having all these scheduling conflicts. We're gonna have him come on and talk, and he just we kept having to change the day of the podcast. He was very flexible. Um, But he's saying that he wishes he beat the game last night and he really enjoyed it, but he wishes they would have put a little bit more effort into animations and character models. I think like this is the reason why I'm so mixed on this game because honestly, like I do feel like I'm having fun. Like when I'm not playing the game, a lot of times I find like I'm excited to go back and play the game. And I think that's a sign of a good game, right? But like there are some like very obvious shortcuts I think they took with this game, and I think there's like actual reasons maybe out of their control for that. But I mean, I mean, if you look online, you can find all sorts of examples. But there's a combination of what seems like great looking graphics and textures, and then like it seems like if they have the opportunity, they'll go ahead and use like a 3DS texture. But if it's a brand new like total like they have to create it from scratch, it'll look great. So like you see lots of examples of like well probably the biggest example is this tree in the wildlands or the wild area where you can roam and catch Pokemon.
They
Really
took it
cool.
from Zelda, I tell you.
Did they? Uh, well, there's this tree, and it's like literally the same tree, copy and pasted all over the place. It's not like different trees or anything like that. So people were kind of criticizing that, making fun of that. But then, like, if you look at the texture itself, like when it's next to other textures in that area that are like much more high quality, it makes it stand out, and it looks like a 3DS texture, right? So, and there's other ones too, like the dirt path is very flat looking. It's not very It doesn't look, it doesn't mesh well with some of the other textures in the game. So it makes people like dumbfounded why they were in such a rush to finish the game. I mean, the thing he pointed out too with the animations. I mean, again, you can go online and see some video footage of people doing some comparisons, but some of the animations are very elaborate and beautiful looking, but some of them is simply like the Pokemon's like static frame, just
Yeah.
like jumping up and down, and it's like the arms aren't even moving; they're very stiff. It's like it feels very rushed at certain points.
I will say graphically, I will say the game is very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah,
But where I do agree with people is this still looks like a handheld game and not a console game.
yeah,
This still looks like something you could potentially put on the 3DS. Of course, definitely like scaled down,
hmm
but like these type of graphics or such is something you could compress into a 3DS, I feel, especially since they're using a lot of animations from it. Like I said, it's still a beautiful game. Like I went to the fairy town
hmm
in the game, and that is a gorgeous looking place. Like aesthetically, like a place like that is really cool looking.
yeah. Like
But
we're
again,
go ahead.
it's it's just nothing that a lower console or a lower handheld can do. So to me, this game still feels like a handheld. Well, maybe because I'm playing it on the Switch Lite is contributing to that, but
Right.
that is something. And even on top of that, what's really weird is that I've been playing it purely on handheld mode, so I can't really compare it to docking. But the resolution of the game drops horrendously when you're in crowded areas, like the first big city in the game.
Yeah.
Like it will drop down fast. Like it looks like
And
Xenoblade 2 handheld
handheld, it
level.
drops. I haven't
Yeah,
actually, for some reason, I have not played this game in handheld yet. I've been playing exclusively on my television. So, but
I was going to switch to my television, but I don't. I think Pokemon's one of the games that you can't cloud save between the two.
oh, that's stupid. Yeah, there's been weird things like that though. Like I've heard that issue, or one of the things I noticed immediately that I'm sure you noticed as well was the popping on like NPCs and like trees and and stuff was like it's really close. It's like 5 or 6 feet. It seems like in front of the character, and like all of a sudden, like all these NPCs start popping up, and it's really strange because I would expect that from like a seamless open world game. Like they put Witcher 3 on the Switch, right? And that game has some pop in from what I've seen. That's understandable. You can cross from like one town to another town without any loading screens. Like that. Okay, that's very hard on the hardware. But this is kind of it's more. This is more. People have said Game Freak's about 10 years behind. That's a little rough, but this is more like Final Fantasy 12 styled zones. So it seems to me like it's really strange when I'm in a town and there's popping from like NPCs. It doesn't take away from the game because I don't care, but it's just one of those observations where you're left scratching your head. Like I basically I think that like from what I understand, like there's been some leaks, I guess, and I saw some people like Spawn Wave talking about it, which the way he phrased it, I was like, this could be true, but apparently there was a leak that Game Freak has. Well, this part's not a leak. They have software that lets them import Pokemon models from other games into new games, and that's how they're able to, you know, do these games quickly. But apparently, they had issues with the software importing these Pokemon into the Switch because it's new hardware, and certain Pokemon worked well. Some of the imports didn't work well, and
Well,
they
here's
had
the thing for that, for the mod, is that you do technically have to switch the Pokemon out with another existing Pokemon in that game.
yeah. Well,
So
no, but
you can't simply add to it.
mhm.
You do have to replace.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when they were developing the game, usually they would have software that would import Pokemon from prior games into the new game during development to kind of speed development up. And apparently, that import tool did not work as well with Stadia, Switch, and so they had to like go back and like hand do a lot of these Pokemon or like touch them up. And it's rumored that basically that was going to take a lot of extra time for them to do all the Pokemon. And, the fact that, the Pokemon makes more money than Star Wars or anything else. Like it's the top franchise, right? And a majority of that money comes from like Pokemon cards, like plush toys, like stuff like that. The games are a good portion, but a lot of it is the merchandise. And people are thinking that the Pokemon company just told Game Freak like figure it out because this game has to come out before Christmas because we're gonna make so much money off all the merchandising off this game. Like, just figure it out. And Game Freak was just like, okay, like we're gonna work on like half the Pokemon. We'll touch them up. We'll do, we'll borrow stuff from other games. We'll use 3DS textures where apparent, but we're gonna get this game done in time. I mean, that makes sense to me, and I wonder if that's why we have a lot of these issues that like where you see a lot of like stale looking animations or just the lack of visual fidelity in certain areas where it just seems very last gen. It seems to me like they must have been under pressure to just get this game out, and there was some kind of development hiccup that maybe uh made made it a little more difficult because I have to think that the next Pokemon game on the Switch is going to be like above and beyond this one. It has to be. And I see like IGN giving it like 9.3. And again, it's a good game, but I'm like, dude, there's a lot of room for improvement. I feel like that, like, so
Well, if you're judging it based on the contained experience you got and not trying to compare it, I could see it being rated highly. It's uh, I don't know how I feel so much about it because like I've never seen Pokemon in a console, like a true console experience, and I don't even know if this is really being truly sold like that by the company. So I kind of have like mixed feelings on it because on one hand, the handheld feeling aspect makes it feel simple and easy to pick up, and I don't know. I think I'm just spreading out nonsense right now. I agree for the most part. I think there might have been some rushing going on in there to uh, make this all happen because they just released a game called Little Town Hero,
yeah.
and while it's not getting good reviews, graphically it looks really good.
Yeah. And
Like
people,
they use a very aesthetically pleasing type thing. And I was like, they should have. I'm thinking to myself, they should have used that for Pokemon.
yeah.
And the thing with that also is like, right, there's no cinematography in the game much. There is like a couple special animations made, but there isn't really anything much special. Even the dynamics forms are there are some special ones like Gengar with when you he opens his mouth much wider.
Hmm.
There are a few special ones, but most Dynamax Pokemon are just you turn them big
And that's it.
and their animations are slower to make
Yeah.
them feel like they're big. Um, yeah, I mean, this doesn't feel like something that took a long time to make, especially if they dexed a lot of Pokemon. But here's the interesting thing, though, if we want to argue about that, is Jim Sterling made a video earlier this week talking about it, and I think he made a really good point. Is that I think this game should have just gotten a full reset, like the Pokemon series in general. Like when you get up to like 800 Pokemon or so, it's like you're kind of telling yourself, man, I really should just like we should like go back to
Yeah. Well,
simpler times and just like don't use any of the previous Pokemon. Don't use any of them and completely create a whole new roster
well,
of
the
Pokemon and then make like a full on like console like experience with it. They should have just like gone all out and not have to use the previous stuff.
Yeah. I mean, look, like it is a very good game, but even with the Pokemon that are there, I understand like basically 55% of the total Pokemon are not in this game, which is disappointing, but I feel like there's Pokemon all over the place, just running all around and like they're everywhere I look, there's new Pokemon for me to catch. And you know, but the thing is like I find that most of the Pokemon I don't want to say most, but I feel like a lot of the Pokemon I catch just like are like not useful for for me. I'll try them out and they're kind of cool, but they're not useful. And so I think what I
So
really
every Pokemon game ever.
what I yeah. Well, I really enjoyed some of the earlier games because I think there was a little bit more variety with that. Like it's just like I have lots of Pokemon that I caught, but I don't ever plan on using because you know the, they're just kind of a hassle to use. And maybe if they did reboot the series or just did a like you said a reset with just brand new Pokemon or just only stuck with the ones they had and maybe tried to change the um, layout of the game. I think that they could maybe spice that up a little bit. I mean, it's kind of interesting because Game Freak said one of the things they're focusing on this generation of this franchise is the gameplay. They were working on the balancing, making sure that the Pokemon were more engaging to play with. But I haven't really seen that, to be honest. And maybe it's just I need to let them evolve and stuff like that. But I do think this is unsustainable to keep adding this many Pokemon to every game. It's just they're running out of design ideas. They're like, how many different words can you use for tackle? You know, it's just or bite or whatever. I mean, it's it's just a problem that they're gonna have to come to terms with. So
Mhm.
it's one of those things. One thing I didn't uh notice before was, and I guess Pokemon has always gone in this direction, but in the early days of Pokemon, there was, you had your super cute looking Pokemon like Pikachu, and then you had these like kind of like more like Pokemon with like an attitude almost, right? So, ones that come to mind was like Blastoise and War Turtle, those evolutions, or like Charizard was very fierce looking. And it seems to me that and I guess this is like a trend over all the games, but damn near every Pokemon I catch is like very like teddy bearish, like very like it's always smiling and it's got big eyes and like it looks like very clearly like when this was designed they thought about well what would the plush toy look like, like let's make this cute, let's make sure people want to spend time with the Pokemon. So it's not a criticism, it's just an observation and change of I don't want to say change, but a greater emphasis on that kind of aesthetic.
I've been saying that ever since the game first got announced, is that the designs look lazy and like they're running out of ideas. And like I said, you're past 800 Pokemon. Eventually, you're going to start running out of ideas to work with. It's like how many animals are there in the world you can base a Pokemon off of?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like I mean, I'll give credit to them to being able to make even more. Like now they're literally turning milk into a Pokemon. There is milk, and turns into and its evolution is cream.
Yeah. I do, but like the way this game plays out though, I do find that it's fun. Like I do find like the wild areas in particular are really enjoyable to just go out there and like my favorite thing to do is to try to catch new Pokemon and I don't really feel the need to um like spend substantial time trying to do anything else other than catch Pokemon, which I guess is the general gaming loop of the game. So it's not necessarily a criticism, but I like the wild areas in particular are very very fun. Just the fact that there's no random encounters, you can see the Pokemon running through the grass. They've mixed it with other Pokemon that are very clearly stronger Pokemon. You can tell by the size and like they're not in the grass. So if you run into one of those Pokemon, they're going to be much stronger, and so it's a very interesting way to approach this game, and that I'm used to the every 3 seconds getting into a random encounter, and I find myself avoiding a lot of enemies when I just want to progress the game, and it's definitely a change in pace. I find myself feeling a little like I don't know if it's because there's no random encounters, but I find like when I get to a new town in like 2 minutes, it's kind of like like this is kind of strange.
Whatever journalist said that the Wildlands was the size of two regions in Zelda Breath of the Wild was a damn dirty liar. The Wildlands are decently big, but they're not that big. They're like maybe like I don't know, maybe like a normal zone map in Final Fantasy 12 big.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely big, but it's not. Yeah, that's highly exaggerated to compare it to that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's like it's a good game, but I feel like it's just kind of like exists and it's fun to play. But I think that the next game that comes out, or like I think in the general grand scheme of things, after another Pokemon game or two comes out, I don't think many people are going to be talking about Sword and Shield. I think that
Yeah,
like there's going to be other games that are going to easily trump
my
this one.
feeling my feelings are the same. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it is a great game. Don't get me wrong. We've been maybe a little critical, but there is a lot of the good I think overwhelms anything that's bad in the game, and it's still great, especially for kids. I mean, it's a good entryway point for a lot of people in the series, and I would still highly recommend it to any Pokemon fan, even if they feel strongly with the whole Dexit thing. But the what I will say though is it's not the title that's going to push boundaries. It's not like how Zelda Breath of the Wild was to the Zelda series, or how Mario Odyssey was to the 3D Mario series. Like this is like the next Pokemon, but it's not the next
Right.
true
There's
like Pokemon. This is a good starter, and it's heading in the right direction. I think just whatever the next game Game Freak makes, I think they just really gotta step it up. I think
I
they
mean,
really need to start ground zero and just wow people on the next one. Because like I said, this one's really good. I highly recommend it. It's just not a title that pushes boundaries for the series.
yeah, and I mean there's even some things like there's no voice acting, which feels weird at times for like some of the cutscenes.
I mean, the
And,
story has been so typical, I will say, that like I haven't seen anything that's out of the usual Pokemon formula story wise. So
yeah.
I haven't cared, but so much. I know like other game. I've heard like other games. You're like saving the world and stuff like that, and all that crazy stuff. And I'm like, oof,
Well,
it's a
the
bit
thing,
higher than I remember when I
yeah.
played it.
Well, I think the original games, granted, they weren't like great like narrative experiences, but they did a good job of letting you capture like a sense of adventure and rivalry, right? So in Pokemon Blue, the one I played, you had your original rival Gary, and he was always like degrading you whenever you came in contact with him, and like he was always one step ahead of you. Like he had just completed the gym, and like you were just getting there, and he was saying you're weak sauce, smell you later, right? And you're just like, I want to destroy this guy. I want to beat this guy. And I think between that and like the fact that the world just felt big, it just I think it added a lot. And I think in this game, like they tried to have that rivalry with Hop, your friend, but the problem is you're friends, right? You're like helping each
Yeah, I
other.
don't like that. I don't like that one bit. I don't like Hop at all, actually. Um, he's annoying, and I already know where his story is going by the end of it. And I like that idea of like when I played Red and Blue um, that you go somewhere and then your rival comes out of nowhere and screws you over and just immediately starts battling you, even if you don't have your Pokemon healed up. Hop is all like, "Hey, we should have a challenge again," but not until you get yourself ready, buddy. Then like the cutscene stops and it gives you the opportunity to go back, heal up, come back, and he picks the Pokemon that's weak to yours.
Yeah,
So like I picked the fire Pokemon and he picks the grass one. I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to work.
yeah. And
Um,
I'm like, yeah, like one point I was like 15 hours into the game and I was battling him, and like I used a fire Pokemon against this grass Pokemon, and then he's like, "Oh, I see you've learned the elements," and I'm like, "We're like 15 hours into the game." Yes, I've learned the elements.
Yeah, and your Pokemon keeps getting one shot every time. You picked the wrong Pokemon, you idiot.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, it's a good game, but like there's little things like that. Like when you start off, they give you 30,000 credits or gold or whatever, which is an obnoxious amount of money. And they gave me 25 Pokeballs. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a lot.
And the Team Rocket
Team
group
Yell.
in the game is Team Yell, and they're just fans of this girl who doesn't want to give them the time of day. No, that's a really weird concept to work with. I mean, it's funny and it's fascinating at the same time. Um, just like how the rivalries work in this game, because you do have like a kind of like jerk rival that keeps coming out of nowhere time to time. The one sponsored by the chairman,
Right.
that little that I can't say words on YouTube, and and then there's the one who Team Yell are like the fanboy fangirls of. I forgot her name. And then there's Hop. So you got like three rivals that you go between on your journey, which is an interesting concept in itself. And you do kind of get your jerk one, but again, like it's just not Gary Oakes. Like Gary Oakes, like did really good job of just getting under your skin in the right way. And like
Yeah.
these guys don't even phase me, not one bit. I'm
Yeah,
like,
because you got the impression. Not only was Gary an ass, like you got the impression that he treated his Pokemon poorly. Like it was just I don't know. You wanted to beat him, so even Professor Oak showed concern about Gary. Like I mean, it's just yeah, it's just a better setup. So I don't know, but what they have here, like it's hard for me to say like what they have here is bad. I don't think what they have here is bad at all. It's a perfectly fine Pokemon game. I'm having fun with it. It's selling boatloads of copies, which is kind of what we said. There was going to be this boycott of Pokemon
no.
until people saw that the game was getting like nines out of 10, and then everyone and their mom was going to buy it. So yeah,
Even the decks of people are playing it with a pouty face. They're like,
no, dude, their boycott was I'm going to buy it used. Like, okay. Anyways, all right. So that's basically our impressions of this game. I'm sure we'll give more after the holiday break. By the way, we're going to be not having our normal podcast on Monday just because today's Saturday. We're just going to take time off for Thanksgiving, but we'll be back the following week. So, but we have not much time left, but we're going to quickly go through uh, Xbox Game Pass and Stadia here real quick. So Xbox Game Pass, this has been like the best thing about this generation of Xbox, I think. But they've announced more games for the Game Pass service, including Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10, 10-2, 12, 13, 13-2, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 15, and they promised that Final Fantasy 14 was coming to Xbox as well.
yep.
So, and then also a bunch of Kingdom Hearts games as well are coming.
All of them. Like
All
like Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8 are
yeah.
coming to
So
um, Xbox.
yeah, so all these Final Fantasy games, all these Kingdom Hearts games, and then they announced also that The Witcher 3 was coming and to Xbox, which is exciting. And all these there are lots of other games too that were announced in different genres, but it seems to me like Xbox just understands like or Microsoft understands that hey, power's good, but what really sells these consoles are the games. And they're trying to set themselves apart with just games, and they're really pushing forth trying to get as many games as possible onto their system. I think it's great. I think that they should have been doing this 5 years ago because I don't currently have an Xbox this generation, and I'm apprehensive to I know what you're going to say they do this on PC also, but uh I'm apprehensive to buy an Xbox just because I know a new Xbox is coming out later. But I
Now the
think
thing is that
go ahead.
like you said, like all their first party exclusives are pretty much coming to PC. So there isn't
For Game
so
Pass, right?
so I would say you sign up to the Xbox service on your PC and buy like a PS5, and you really get like the best of both worlds
Yeah. Well, so
doing that.
the thing is, some games are still exclusive on the Xbox, right? And some of them are not playable even if you pay for the service. From what I was reading, which it's not like most of them. But there are select ones. So, I would say that if that's something y'all want to look into, definitely find some games that are making you want to get this service, and then make sure that they would be available on PC. Most of them are like all these Final Fantasy games you can play them. But what's cool about Game Pass is you pay a monthly service and then you play the games basically for free, right? Or
Yeah,
okay,
you
so
just
that's
download them. You're good to go. It's not like another service that we're going to talk about in a minute.
oh,
Xbox just says you pay the monthly fee, and you can play whatever games in our library. And I believe you can also when their streaming service comes out, Xbox, I believe they're going to give you the option. I would have to look again, but I think they'll give you the option to either stream it or download it.
yeah, I do know that streaming is an option because I've seen some people in from like IGN and such talking about they got some hands-on time with the streaming service itself, and kind of comparing that to Stadia. But um, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. This is really cool. I think that Microsoft is finally learning that games are where it's at. It's going to be an interesting showdown this next generation. So
Microsoft is really making all the right decisions here on so many levels, and I really hope people come out and support them because when you make really big pro consumer choices like this, I really believe that you should
be
support
rewarded.
the developers if of course, if there's titles that you find interest in and want to play on there, like I would definitely give them a chance at least, or at least look into it. uh, like okay, they dropped the bomb big time in 2013 with the Xbox One, like, and everything. It was very anti-consumer, but like Phil Spencer just came in and just made the Xbox like one of the most pro-consumer experiences ever now. And when you jump that far from where you started, like you got to give major props to a company like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's been a slow turn in the other direction for Sony, so it's kind of like this could be interesting this next generation.
Well, Sony's kind of playing ball right now, but not because they want to. I feel like because they have to.
Right.
Like the whole Fortnite fiasco, like happened, and then like, okay, they're like, okay, we'll be more open to crossplay now, like because you all complained so much.
Right. They respond to criticism appropriately, but it's not like they're not leading the charge. So,
Yeah, they're definitely not. Now, PlayStation still definitely has the games and everything I lean more towards, but um, I still want to eventually one day play Banjo Kazooie HD on my Switch. And if I have to go through the Xbox Live service to do it, then so be it.
yeah. So, it's kind of ironic, but anyways, so yeah, I mean, Xbox Game Pass, how much is it?
I'm paying only 5 a month right now,
Yeah, that's what I was seeing,
but I'm
$5 a
doing
month.
PC only. I think if you do like the PC console combo, I think it's like 10 to 15 or so a month.
Right. But it's a very
But
good deal. Like this is basically what people expected from Google Stadia, to be honest, was that it
and
was
then
going
I
to be
dropped the ball.
yeah. I mean, we can transition to that, but I mean, Google Stadia was supposed to be this Netflix like experience for gaming where you pay this monthly fee and then you just stream all these games, right? And people were kind of speculating, like, oh, I don't know if technology is really there for most people's internet speed or like the data caps with your provider. But, it was Google working on this, right? If anyone can do it, it's Google. I mean, come on. Google has like the infrastructure, the money, to put behind this. They own YouTube. They own Google, the search engine, the most popular search engine on the planet. Like it seemed like they would be capable of doing this, but yeah, they've been bringing forth Stadia, and this has been a very not Netflix like experience. It's basically you have the option to purchase a $120, or I think it's 130, 129.
130.
Yeah,
Yeah.
130 $130 controller and like a little box, but then you still
It's
have that.
it's a Chromecast Pro, I believe it's called.
Yeah. And but from what I understand, if you buy this, you'll have the ability to stream up to 4K. So that's the lure there.
It doesn't. You know
Yeah.
what it does? It
It
it actually does 1080p and blows it up to 4K.
Yeah, so this is the criticism that like Stadia is getting right now is that they came out hot and they had all this great forward looking ideas, play in 4K, stream it, but don't worry about it. We got it. You only need 25 megabits per second download to be able to do this. They said, hey, we own YouTube, so you can watch a streamer streaming a game, and then you can just click on a button to play the game, having never played the game on Stadia before, and it would just launch in your browser because it's streaming. You don't have to load the game. You can play it on your cell phone or all these different devices. And the thing is, like, this thing does not even have achievements yet. Like when normally with PlayStation, like you get an achievement for collecting all the gems, right? And it'll pop up on your screen. Well, it doesn't even pop up on your screen because they don't even have that feature yet.
They
So
haven't promised anything they've told us that they would do.
yeah,
Nothing.
it's really not good. I don't know why they're launching this. To
All
be
right.
on, to be
There was
honest,
a video of a man who was playing Destiny 2, and he has 1 gig download, which is really damn good.
yeah,
Like, you should have the ideal experience with that type of internet. He pressed the space bar on the game, and literally a second after, it responded and jumped
yeah,
the character. I was like, oh, wow. And people who are like pro Destiny 2 players, like, have said on Twitter, the ones who got to test it and everything, have said that there are raids in that game that they can beat so easily when they play it on a PC through the hardware. And they said they can't beat it when they play it on Google Stadia.
So that's the thing is, like, I've heard differing accounts of people that say, I tried it. I have a really good internet connection. It seemed to work decently well if you just want to casually play, but like if you're trying to be like if like you care at all about performance, like this is not going to cut it right now, right? Like you especially if you start getting to like some of your more budget internet packages, like you see people with like graphical glitches, like there's a thing going around with Laura Croft and the Tomb Raider where she's like basically looks like a PlayStation 2 model, like it's just so blurry looking, and there, like you said, there's so much latency. I mean, it seems like the technology is not there, and a lot of people are asking like, there's not even any like really AAA exclusive games on this. So the fact that you pay 129 and then you have to pay a monthly fee, and then you still have to buy the games, people are looking at like deals like Microsoft Game Pass, and they're like, this is a way better deal. It's cheaper, a monthly subscription. I get the games for free, and they actually play. I can download them.
And they're
Well,
from established companies with a long history with video games already.
yeah, like this is just not a very good deal. So, like it's kind of baffling that they even launched this, like because like it just doesn't seem ready.
But
Uh, Go
here's
ahead.
a couple other things. The Chromecast Pro
Yeah.
has a ton of reports of overheating.
Oh boy.
And like I said before, the 4K is actually 1080p blown up. You can't purchase the games through any kind of OS they made, like on the whatever you play it on. You have the only way you can purchase games is through your phone, and that's it. Your phone, like an app
Yeah,
on your
that's
phone, is
I
the only
saw
way.
that. That's so stupid. You can't buy games through the Stadia. You have to through an app.
Not to
It's
mention, there is no games to entice people. There's not like Google didn't go out and get like exclusive rights to anything, at least not at launch right now. And there's nothing to entice people. Their lineup of games are ones that people have already played and beaten on better hardware.
yeah,
And there's no reason to get Stadia. And even the people who got the controller, I've heard a lot from a lot of people who got their hands on one, like legit like sources, that the controllers feel like those really crappy third party cheap controllers you get like from GameStop, like
yeah.
those Mad Cats level PS2 controller. Like they said the controllers feel comparable to that, which is very sad in itself. Also,
Yeah, so Google's having a really hard time with this. And I've seen it's well, it's baffling because I like what did they expect from this? Did they not do their research? You're Google. Like you like you own YouTube and the Google search engine. Like you have analytics like to the sky's the limit, right? You can just research the crap out of this and see what people are saying and what people want. I mean, it just seems very weird. I guess is the right word, that they don't even have any exclusive games on this. I don't know why they expect people to pay money for this or why there's a monthly fee. I,
yes, ten like what was it like $10 a month, and then you still got to pay $60 for the games,
yeah, like
and you don't claim any ownership of. You're just allowed to play it.
Yeah, they could have. There was a right way to do this because I do think this thing does play well enough on a decent connection. If you're playing like I don't know, if you want to play some like JRPGs or something, like
And you're in the same street where the data center is. Yeah, maybe.
dude, come on. I've seen some streams where like different types of games have run. They're very playable, but I mean, I could see a case to be made that okay, if they could have advertised that okay, you can go pay $60 for this game, or you can stream it on Stadia. You'll have no load times, and the game's $45. Okay, I understand. That's fine. Or if they wanted to charge like $30 a month, but I didn't have to buy the game at all, like that would be a thing too. And I could take up the fact that, okay, the game doesn't run as well on this. I'm going to have, there's certain compromises. Clearly, I'm not going to compete in a Destiny match or like a Tekken match or something like that. Like, clearly, this is for like just, I don't have any other option right now. I'm taking this. Maybe I don't have any other consoles and I just want to like be able to stream something and not have this huge game library, like that target audience, right? But that target audience is not going to want to pay a monthly subscription fee and pay $60 full price for the games. And they're probably not going to have like a high end internet connection either. So it's very, very, very weird.
I
But at
think
the
people are willing to wait for the downloads to happen and get a much better experience than
Yeah.
get the game instantly and have it be a not ideal experience.
Well, and here's the thing though, like it's kind of an interesting point, but I saw the editor in chief of Game Informer, right? So this guy's been reviewing games since like the late '80s, and I don't know why I clicked on the video, but he was talking about Stadia and his experiences with it, and he just voiced all the same things that we just said, right? The pricing model doesn't make sense, like the technology he doesn't feel is quite there, like the game selection is poor. It worked okay at their office, but when he took it home, it did not work at what anywhere as well as he thought. But the thing that he pointed out that I thought was interesting and kind of optimistic was that he brought up, you know, back when games were exclusively cartridge and there was this talk of going to CD-ROMs and he got to play some PlayStation games. He wrote this big article trashing the idea of transferring to CD-ROMs because he was like, dude, why would anyone prefer this? Like on the cartridge right now, we have basically no load times. Then I play this PlayStation game and there's like 2 minute long load times. The games don't come on one cartridge. Some of these games are like 4 discs long, and I got to get up. I got to take the disc out. Like this, like why would anyone prefer this, especially with these outrageous load times? Like this is ridiculous. And then like now he's like looking at it like, well, people dealt with the load times because there were certain advantages and technology has gotten better. And he's saying right now he doesn't think Stadia is that thing yet. It's not to that point yet. But there is like you just click on a game and like it plays, it launches immediately. Like he's like what the fact that you don't have to buy a console ever again, right? So if this is successful, because there's so much development cost that goes into a new console, new hardware, trying to figure out what how to get your game to run on a PS5, right? Whereas game developers don't have to do that. So they can get the games out faster and Google can just upgrade the hardware at their, their main facility. This is a very good idea. This is the future, but maybe not Stadia, but I thought it was interesting that like, well, I mean,
That's a good comparison.
what's that?
I don't think it's a good comparison.
Why?
Uh, Going from cartridge to CD, that was just a lack of understanding the necessity to bump up to that type of deal because the CDs actually held a lot of more data
Hmm.
than the cartridge. So it was kind of
Well, the comparison though with the
well,
performance.
hold on.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, the loading was a necessity to getting those huge, expansive type gameplay deals. So it was just a
Hmm.
lack of understanding type of technology. We're very well aware of how Stadia's technology works and runs, and no, it's not in a state, or we're not at a state that we can play these games smoothly,
Hmm.
especially because not everyone has great internet access. So this type of service is already very limited, especially if you're someone who does not live in an ideal area or have the great internet connection to do this. So you're kind of already shutting out a lot of people doing this. And there's so many problems with the Stadia. It doesn't even come down to not wanting to accept what the
Hmm.
future is. A lot of people are open and accepting to streaming being the future, no problem. The thing is, we're just not at that point yet where it's a viable means.
And
Like we don't have a strong means of like everyone having internet and stuff like that. I believe it's an inevitability, but I don't think it's right now. And Stadia is trying to push itself somewhere that like it took on more than it can manage,
and
and I'm seeing
I
that right now.
And I think that's the point. It wasn't that we're currently at that point where that's an apt comparison where, because clearly by the time the PlayStation came out, like there were certain strides in technology where, and like you said, there was an understanding gap there too as well. But I think the idea was that, the advantages are there if the technology is there and that it like just the way that it did work with certain games where like when it did work, it was actually kind of like interesting, like some of like smaller scale, like less like FPS type games, more like indie style games that worked really well. Being able to play these games on your phone, like the idea and like the idea of infinite scaling with the hardware. This is the future. But the point is that like you said, the technology just doesn't seem like it's there yet. And like you said, like there's people all over the place that just don't even have like a 10 megabit per second download speed, right? Like there's certain towns where like that's just not a thing. Like I saw it in places in Alaska. There's still like a Blockbuster store because they can't even stream Netflix. The internet's so crappy there, right? Like there's so many markets where that are just like not ready for this.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and during the time, everyone had a TV to plug a PlayStation into.
yeah. But I mean, it's Google, so if they want to, they've been losing money on YouTube for 10 years, and they just keep funding it because they feel like it's going to make money eventually, right? So if they keep sticking with this and they release it now, they're eating all this criticism. But maybe over a period of years, they can sit there and keep improving it a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and they'll be on the ground floor and they'll have all these relationships and they'll have some eventually some exclusive games and they don't abandon it like Google Hangouts. you know Eventually this could be something that we talk about 10 years from now and say, hey, it was pretty crappy then, but they've made a lot of strides. Kind of like Microsoft with Game Pass, like eventually they just got it. So, for, you
Even
know,
during 2013, I had hope that Microsoft could get their stuff together.
he's just not for Google
Um,
Stadia, huh?
Google has a long history of quickly dropping things that did not work out well for them. I already predict within 1 to 2 years they're going to shut down Stadia,
Yeah, maybe.
and
I don't know.
not because the streaming service won't be good enough. Because anything it might be, but no one's going to want to use it because Sony and Microsoft are going to have their own type of deal,
It's just
and
going to crush it.
they're going to have the library to back it up. Google's
Well,
going to have nothing, and the features that they offer, assuming they actually work, like being able to buy the game and start it right where the streamer left off. Like, I don't think many people are going to care about that. A lot of people want to play the whole game. They don't want to have a streamer play it halfway through and then they said,
well,
"Huh, I want to play it myself." That's going to be very few people.
I think you would click on it and you would start the game from the beginning, like, oh, this is a cool game. I want to play this game, right? But
They'll give you the option to play
to
it. Like I'm saying, like taking advantage of the feature the way they see it.
sure, from what I've seen though, there's been people that have tried the Xbox streaming service, and they said Stadia worked better than that. However, the reason Xbox is not going to get eat up about this is because Xbox lets you download the games.
Yeah,
So,
that's the biggest perk is that they'll either let you download the game or stream it, and I can see the
so
benefits of doing one or the other depending where you are.
yeah. So if like, if you want to complain about performance, like the people will just say, well, just download the game, and then you have all the performance you want. So, um,
Yeah, even Netflix allows you to download the movies you want to watch.
yeah. So
I think they just limit the amount of movies you can download at once. Like I think you have to like delete one and put another back in or some of the rather.
yeah,
I think Xbox would probably do a similar thing. They let you download one or two titles, but if you want to download more, you got to put one of them back and put the other in.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. Like, I see what you're saying because Google does drop services all the time. Like, they start stuff up, doesn't work, they drop it. I mean, they've done this over and
They
over.
overpromise and don't deliver.
Yeah,
It's very Google.
yeah. But the thing is, there has been cases like with people don't realize YouTube has never made a profit ever because if you think about it, like there's at any one time there's somebody just like this. We're just streaming an hour long video, and they have to store that on a server somewhere. And it's just they constantly just that's constantly an issue is just constantly storing all these videos, right? And so they're trying to make money off this, and then they're constantly, getting criticized and all this other stuff. And so but they keep funding it because they feel like it's so popular that eventually this is going to pay off for them. So if they look at this and they say, okay, well, this isn't working, but let's figure this out, and they stick with it, I think that it could be a
And
potential. But
I think if Google took the monthly fee out, I think that would be a huge major step. Because if you're going to charge for the games, at least don't charge a monthly fee for the stuff. And because think about it. All right. So Gmail, most people use Gmail, right?
right,
Like you probably use Gmail as an email account. It's a nice mail service. It's basic. It has a lot of features and stuff. It's a good mail service, email service. I mean, now would you be compelled to use Gmail if they charged you like $10 a month for it? Would you hop onto a different email
oh,
address?
absolutely, I would not use Gmail if they charge $10 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
but
So it's
but
kind of like the same deal here.
yeah,
It's like offer the service for free, and then you can like the game companies themselves can decide the prices they want to charge for their game, and like you just ultimately profit from that. People
right,
don't want to pay $10 a month to be able to access a service that still charges you $60 for games. Microsoft on their streaming service is just going to make you pay the $10 or $15 a month, and then you can play whatever games you want in there for free. Like
I
you do
think
not need to purchase on top of that. So they need to figure out their
business
purchasing
model.
plan uh, if they want to get back into the good graces.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is their business model or pricing model sucks. I mean, 100 right now you can buy this device and controller for $130, and then you still have to pay this monthly fee, and then you still have to buy the game, and it's not as good of a performance as elsewhere. Right now for Black Friday, you can get a PlayStation 4 with Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War 5, and there's another game that's really I can't remember what game it is, but they're like three top two, at least with those two games, very very phenomenal games for $200. For $200, you can get three great games and a PlayStation 4, or you can spend $130 on Google Stadia, not have any games, and then spend $60 on a game as well. Have one game that doesn't run very well for $190. That's not a good deal. That's
It's not a good deal. I mean, you're not even going to trick the grandmas to buy this for their grandchildren.
yeah. It's just,
They'll find the Ouya before your Stadia.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think people would have accepted the lower performance, like you were pointing out, if there was no monthly fee or there was, or if you're paying the monthly fee, like why don't I get like a significant discount on the games or something like why am I not getting like 20% off at the very least or something like that? Like
Yeah, or
oh,
at least get like free games a month.
or
Like
certain ones
like
are free or something. Yeah.
like there's PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold, but they give you so much for paying for that service. They give you pretty significant games each month. Like some months are better than others for sure, but like uh, I'm trying to think of I can't think of one right on top of my head right now. But I
If
remember there were like some good AAA quality games that like were really good. And like I'm kind of hoping like Death Stranding kind of makes it to that, and then I can try it out then. But
yeah, well, I can already go like walk outside and like try not to fall over, you know, get that
mhm.
Death Stranding experience. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. I think what would have worked a lot better is if Google had just partnered with Microsoft or Sony, and
Yeah.
then Sony or Microsoft could have used their relationships to garner those deals, or maybe they could have worked with Nintendo, and then Google could have just said, "Hey, we have the infrastructure to make this happen. You just got to kind of give us a clue on the industry because we're not really knowledgeable on the industry and what people want and expect." And I think that would have been a lot better.
Google's out for world domination, so it's it's probably they wanna be the next like Microsoft or Sony. Like they want to be that huge player in the game, but really it comes down to uh, Steam, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, and maybe Epic if they get a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
Like we got plenty of options, and Google just has nothing to offer to the table.
Yeah, they don't. Well, the thing is, there's nothing positive for me to say. There's no exclusive games. There's no. It's not cheaper. It's actually more expensive. Like they don't run as well. I mean, what do you? I guess it's convenient. I don't know. So right now, uh, I would side with the Game Pass. Seems like a much better deal to me. Or
Yeah,
just
I did that for sure.
yeah,
I'm sure
but
Sony's going to follow suit,
yeah.
and they already have PlayStation Now,
Hmm.
which is very okay. But of course, they can make improvements to that, and the PS5 can make it a much better service with better hardware streaming it.
But doesn't
And
that give you games for free? Right? Isn't that kind of the subscription model?
yeah, you pay a service fee, and then you can play whatever you want in there. And it's got a mix of PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games on there.
Right. So even like I know that certain games don't run as well as they could on there, but you're saving money by playing it that way. So you're willing to overlook some of the compromises.
PlayStation Now would be so incredible if they offered the option to. I don't know if they have or haven't. I haven't actually been on in a long time, and I actually heard it's a better service than it used to be. But it would be so much better if they let you download the games onto the hardware.
Yeah. Oh, sorry guys. I saw Lane commented. He said, as a software engineer, I see this sort of stuff all the time with upper management pushing out amazing unfinished stuff, but it is amazing to see this level of incompetence at the level that Google is. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, very much.
So, I think we're at this point where we should probably just cut this podcast short. We went a little longer than I think we expected to, but just to reemphasize, this coming up Monday, normally we'll stream a podcast. We're not going to be streaming this week. It's Thanksgiving. We're going to be just kind of trying to do that thing. So we're not going to be doing that week. We'll be doing the next week. I don't know if we're going to stream on Monday. We'll just probably, but just keep an eye out. Join our Discord server. There's a link in the description, or you can follow our Twitter, and you can keep up to date with when the next podcast episode is going to come out. But we'll get back to a normal schedule then at that point, and hopefully Stan will be back in action, and he'll have recovered fully from Eric's assault on him for his Dragon Quest opinions. Alleged, yeah, allegedly. But anyways, we'll see you all then. So I hope you all have a great holiday.
All right, take care.